For your diaphragm to function in inhalation, it must sink down to encounter abdominal pressure. If you can't sink from above, the diaphragm works like this. You can understand. Initially, when it starts to sink, the lower part is fixed in a circle, all fixed and immobile. Only the middle cap descends. Then, when it reaches a certain point and can't move further, at this time, the circle contracts, opening the rib cage, so it becomes fixed at the top. Therefore, every time we inhale, it's like this. To inhale more air, it needs to encounter abdominal pressure below, then tighten the circle and open the rib cage, allowing the lateral diameter of your lungs to expand so you can inhale more air. At this point, if your center of gravity is pressing on the right side. So at this time, can you understand that the pressure in the entire right side, including the thoracic and abdominal cavities, is relatively high? Is the pressure relatively high like this? Air flows from areas of high pressure to areas of low pressure. The same applies to the diaphragm descending, because when your diaphragm descends, the pressure in the thoracic cavity decreases, so the outside air directly rushes in. At this point, when it rushes into the lungs, it finds that the pressure on the right side is high. The pressure on the left side is lower, so at this time, does more air rush into the left lung or the right lung, more on the left or more on the right? If we simply consider muscle strength, more air should be inhaled into the right side, correct? However, because your center of gravity is on the right side, and in addition, the right side encounters the liver, which is relatively large, in this state, most people's left lung is overinflated, while the right lung cannot take in air. Because the pressure on the right side is too high, more air fills the left diaphragm and the left lung. Additionally, as the left diaphragm descends, since the stomach is relatively small, located around here, and the liver is here, the left diaphragm descends lower than the right one, right? But during the upward push, the heart blocks the left side, so it can't push up. What about the right diaphragm? Since there is no heart above, the right diaphragm can rise higher. Meanwhile, the left diaphragm will descend lower. Do you remember what we discussed earlier about the diaphragm? The diaphragm's ability to inhale is strongest when, after encountering abdominal pressure, the central part remains stationary while the surrounding area contracts. This is when more air is inhaled. So what does this mean? Although the left diaphragm descends lower, it's not because the left diaphragm descends lower that more air fills the left lung. It's because during its descent, the central dome or the tendon area doesn't stabilize. Therefore, during its descent, it cannot contract effectively around the perimeter. And as a result, it doesn't actually inhale more air. You can understand it this way because it's a bit complex. You can think of it as the fact that more air fills the left lung is not because the left diaphragm descends lower, but because the pressure in the right lung is greater, allowing the left lung to fill with air. Do you understand? The pressure in the right lung is greater, so the external air pressure is higher and the internal pressure is lower, which directly pushes air into the left lung. Therefore, for most people, the diaphragm descends because the stomach is relatively small, so it continues to descend. It is constantly searching for abdominal pressure, and if it can't find it, it will keep moving downward. The lower it goes, the more your diaphragm sinks, and the lower the diaphragm sinks, the less it functions for breathing and more for stability. What kind of diaphragm has a breathing function? When you exhale, it can rise up and open like a parachute. Then, when you inhale and encounter abdominal pressure, it can contract in a circular motion. At this point, the diaphragm serves a breathing function. However, if it keeps sinking and stays still, then the diaphragm no longer serves a breathing function. It becomes something else. A muscle with a stabilizing function